Welcome to $100 Plus Mileage, your podcast for staying up to speed on New Hampshire legislation. Every other week, we check out an under-the-radar bill that we think you should know about. I'm Anna Brown, Director of Research and Analysis for Citizens Count.
And I'm Mike Dunbar, Content Editor for Citizens Count. As tuition costs continue to rise, many have questioned whether college is worth the time and money it takes to get a degree. Many students who might otherwise have pursued a bachelor's degree are finding it more attractive to begin working and building their careers right out of high school. A somewhat similar debate that has gotten far less buzz, whether high school is really necessary, is now taking place in New Hampshire thanks to HB 399. Anna, why don't you tell listeners about this bill?
HB 399 is a bill before the New Hampshire legislature proposed by Rep. Corcoran. He's a Republican from Ware. As introduced, the legislation requires the Department of Education to design and administer a high school diploma equivalency test, and that would exempt students aged 13 or older who pass the test from school attendance requirements.
The bill also allows New Hampshire citizens to sue if their rights under the new law were violated. For example, a student who tested out of having to attend high school could sue a public college if that institution refused to consider them because they didn't go to high school. Now, I thought kids could just drop out at age 16, maybe just get their GED later on or something.
New Hampshire changed that law back in 2009, actually. Currently, students are required to attend high school through age 18, but 16 and 17-year-olds can take the high school equivalency test, HiSET, with a waiver. Most states have similar requirements for attendance through age 16 or 18. And if New Hampshire was to pass HB 399, we'd be casting a new path here.
Interesting. So what are people saying in favor of this bill?
At the bill's hearing before the House Education Committee, Rep. Corcoran argued that New Hampshire should measure outputs rather than inputs. So in other words, why force someone to attend high school when they can prove they already possess the knowledge they would be taught in class?
Yes, I watched the hearing on this, and I was impressed to see there were some students who attended the hearing and spoke in favor of the bill. They argue that they should not be forced to go to high school with all its social pressures and regimented structures if they already possess the required competencies. One even mentioned that he wanted to skip high school so he could spend more time researching nuclear physics ahead of joining the Navy's nuclear energy technician program. I wish I was that ambitious as a teenager.
Honestly, that's insanely impressive to me. And it also reminds me, every now and then you do see one of those crazy stories about young geniuses going to college when they're like 10. And now I'm wondering about the legal waivers and tests required with that. But yeah, by all means, nuclear physics, that is totally something I was thinking about when I was 14. So anyway, there are some drawbacks to this idea, which is leading some to say the bill needs to be amended or killed altogether.
Yeah, I can imagine. So talk to me more about some of that.
Well, for one, it's difficult to design a single test that could fully encompass the knowledge gained in 4 years of high school. Some have also pointed out that this bill puts the power to decide what is on that test in the hands of the state. And in New Hampshire, there's a lot of love for that local control where local school districts have the power to determine their high school standards.
Right. And of course, there would also be administrative costs to creating a test and administering it, modifying the test for students who require special accommodations, and creating new versions regularly to prevent people from cheating.
And similar to the debate around the importance of attending college, some bring up the social factor. High school is a pivotal time for many young people and helps them mature by socializing with their peers. Then again, for many former students, high school leaves them with painful memories they might prefer to have avoided.
All right. Well, what do you think, New Hampshire? Could allowing young people to test out of high school requirements, allowing them to get a jump on their futures, be the right move? Or do the potential drawbacks demand greater scrutiny? A majority of the House Education Committee believes the harms outweigh the benefits and is recommending the full House of Representatives kill the bill. The House will vote on HB 399 in the coming week. There's still time to share your opinion with legislators, though. You can find contact information for your representatives by visiting citizenscount.org/elected-officials. Not sure how to reach out? Well, check out our tutorials at citizenscount.org/how-to. All right, Anna, that wraps it up for HB 399, which means it's time for Only in New Hampshire. What Granite State trivia do you have for us today?
Well, the kid who wanted to spend more time researching nuclear energy so he could work for the Navy reminded me of the USS Albacore.
Ah, yes. What New Hampshire kid growing up near the seacoast didn't take the field trip to visit the USS Albacore in Portsmouth?
For those who don't know, the USS Albacore was a submarine prototype that paved the way for the Navy's nuclear-powered submarine force. It was also the first boat built specifically to operate underwater. Before the Albacore, subs had been designed as surface vessels that could submerge. The submarine, which was designed, built, and maintained by the engineers at Portsmouth Naval Shipyard, operated as a seagoing test platform from 1953 to 1972. And now visitors can tour the Albacore where it sits on dry land in Portsmouth.
Yeah, that was definitely a fun field trip back in the day, walking around this giant submarine that's just sitting by the highway.
I love that when you go in and just the same is true. My dad was in the U.S. Coast Guard. And when you go inside the ships, just the way everything is so tiny and cramped together, it's crazy to think about living there for extended periods of time. I don't know how submariners do it. It's impressive. You have to be a certain type for sure.
Yeah, whatever the opposite of claustrophobic is. Would it be claustrophilic maybe? I don't know, but you have to be very much okay with tight spaces, that's for sure.
Maybe that kid who testified at the hearing also is like, I'm going to study nuclear physics in my closet and it will even feel even more like it.
Yeah, I just enjoy being cramped. Yeah. All right, well, that wraps it up for this episode of $100 Plus Mileage. You can find more information and episodes at citizenscount.org. We'd also like to thank Franklin Pierce University for producing and the Granite State News Collaborative for hosting. Our theme music is composed by Mike Dunbar. Lastly, we thank you for giving us a listen and thinking about how you can be part of what makes New Hampshire by the people, for the people.